Hey, good morning. I'm David Phillips, and I am the CEO of Estate Planning Specialist. I'm going to talk to you today about a subject that is actually not a real fun topic to talk about, but it's something that's very important. The dictionary defines a crisis as a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or change, and danger. And it also says it's a time when a difficult or important decision must be made. We are right now in the middle of what's called a long-term care crisis. Most of us have experienced a long-term care event. Not for us personally, but for someone that we know and love, someone that we've cared for, a family member, a friend. So just think for a second. Have you had a long-term care experience? Myself, I have one parent still alive, my mother, 91. My father, 7 years with Alzheimer's. My father-in-law just recently passed away, about a year with dementia. My mother-in-law, 2 years with osteoporosis, never getting out of bed. So these are real events that have happened in my life, and I'm sure they've happened in yours. So as you're thinking about this, we are living this, especially the boomers are living this as we take care of our parents. But we love people that we're taking care of. And so it's something that we have to, it's an obligation that we have. But actually we found that 80% of those that are providing care currently are receiving it, are giving the care in the home. So they're taking care of those by unpaid family caregivers. Also, an alarming statistic. A spouse that's taking care of another spouse is 6 times more likely to suffer from anxiety or depression. So you can see it takes a pretty big toll on the caregiver. One in 4 Americans age 65 will live into their 90s. 4 in 10 Americans are or were caregivers. 1 in 3 caregivers provide, in addition to care, financial support to those they care for. This is an important part of it as well. So what are the odds? What are the chances that we will experience a long-term care event in our life? Well, first of all, just think about this. It's about a 3% chance during our entire life that our home will burn down. Will be on fire, not burn down, but be on fire. And 18% during our lifetime that will actually total our car. And in each case, we have to have insurance. We have to have some kind of protection for that. With long-term care, it's 72% that will have a long-term care experience of 3 months or more in our life. What's worse, in my opinion, is 80% of women will experience this. 60% for men, 80% for women. And there's a 91% chance that if we are married and we're age 65 or older, that one spouse will experience a long-term care event. So that's pretty important, pretty critical to understand that this is something that's going to most likely happen to all of us. Currently in the U.S., 1 out of 9 people age 65 or older have Alzheimer's. Since it's going to happen to us, what are the average costs? Well, currently in a nursing home, it's about $100,000 annually. Assisted living, about $45,000. Home health care aid, $45,000. But look what's going to happen in just a few years. We're going to look at least doubling all those expenses from 2015 to 2040. So the question is, as we age and we get into those years, are we prepared for this huge expense? If a long-term care event triggered today, which of the assets that you have would you sell first? Would you use first to take care of you? This is just an example of an estate that's about $2 million. And you can see it's comprised of just different things, pretty common mix of assets. And we've got mutual funds over here. We have an IRA of about $450. We have real estate, which includes their home, about $420, and a life insurance policy with some cash value in it. And then we have about $250,000 in cash equivalents. Well, if presented with a long-term care expense, which assets would go toward taking care of you? It would most likely be the low-yielding cash equivalents. So, when you're looking at those low-yielding cash equivalents, what are your options as far as taking care of you? Well, the first option is to secure or buy a standalone long-term care policy. The second option is to basically be rich enough to pay for everything yourself, or do what's called self-fund. Now, self-funding, we're going to talk about each of these here in a second, but self-funding basically is paying for everything yourself. The other option would be to reposition some of your assets that you currently have, some of those low-yielding assets that I talked about, into a leveraged care solution. So the special report that I have will talks about the leveraged care solutions in each of those, this unique option that we have for care. So let's look at each of these options. The first one is the standalone long-term care policy. First of all, we know that if you've ever looked at it, it's an expensive use it or lose it proposition. It's just like car insurance or health insurance. If you never ever need it, they're not going to give you your money back. So, but if you do need it, that's when you trigger the benefit and you get benefits. So it's a use it or lose it proposition. If you never need it, they don't say, hey, thanks a lot, here's all your money back. It's a use it or lose it proposition. It's very difficult to qualify. In fact, only 25% of those that apply can qualify. And the premiums, even though you get into it and you're paying X amount each year for your premium, they can and will and do increase. In fact, last year, one carrier in Pennsylvania increased their premium 130%. If you're on a fixed budget and you have a 130% increase, what usually happens? You just dump it. So it's interesting to note too that in the year 2000, there were 700,000 individual standalone long-term care policies sold in the U.S. In 2015, only 100,000. Why the big drop? Well, first of all, people are becoming aware that it is a use it or lose it proposition. It's expensive, it increases, just all these things that I just said. But there's also a viable option for us to consider. The other option is now to self-fund. And I talk with a lot of people. I do estate planning virtually every day, except Sunday. And in all that planning that I do, I have a lot of people say, well, yeah, I can take care of myself. I've got enough money to take care of myself, and I've set it aside specifically for care. Well, remember that if you do self-fund, everything, no matter what the expenses are, will come out of your own pocket. At my father-in-law's funeral, I was talking with one of the friends of my wife, and he said, yes, my mom is in a nursing home right now. And I said, well, what's the cost here in Utah Valley? And she said, well, it's roughly normally about $100,000 a year, but she's on a respirator, and it's $250,000 a year. So everything, whatever you have, if you're doing self-funding, it's going to come out of your pocket. And long-term care expenses, of course, can add up fast. The most important thing, though, is that if you're going to set money aside for care, you have to put it into its own corner. It has to be a low-yielding asset. Because if you have it in the market and it's at risk, and '08 hits, and let's just say you have $100,000 set aside for care, and now it's worth $20,000, well, that doesn't quite pan out the way it's supposed to. That's not really exactly what you had planned. So it has to be in a low-yielding asset. And what kind of return are we getting on low-yielding assets today? Usually pretty dismal. CDs are paying less than 1%. It's just not a way in which you're going to really make a lot of money. Another thing, in self-funding, $1 is only worth $1. So if you've taken that dollar and you put it in the coffee can in the backyard, it's only worth $1. There's a better option. It's called the leveraged care solution. It's the new leveraged care solution because there's some new aspects to this that are really, really magnificent. The financial industry has figured this out. They've seen that this is the big need. They've looked at the statistics that I just showed you, and they know that the boomers are here, and we are concerned about our care. We do not want to paint ourselves in the same corner that our parents did. I don't want to require my wife to take care of me all the time like my mother did my dad with the Alzheimer's. It's just not really fair. So we're concerned about this. Now, in another reason why this has become new and we have a lot of new entries into this is because of the Pension Protection Act in 2006, which became effective in 2010. There's a little section in there, Section 844. And in that section of this law, it says that if you have a certain financial products, you can take those financial products and extract the money out of those financial products and use it for your care tax-free. So if you've accumulated a lot of money in them and you use it for care, it's tax-free. So with the leveraged care solution, in essence what it is repositioning money today to create guaranteed dollars in the future. Let me just give you a visual example. I have a $100 Ben Franklin here, okay? It's in my left hand. With the leveraged care solution, all I am doing is transferring it to my right hand. It is still an asset on my balance sheet. I still have $100 in my hand, except this $100 is specifically for my care. It is as if I had put it in the coffee can in the backyard, except I'm going to have I'm going to create some leverage for that through these new financial products. It is an asset still in the balance sheet. And this $100 through the leveraged care solution can grow from $100 to $10, from $100 to $1,000, from $1 to $10. Furthermore, if you dodge the long-term care bullet, which is everyone's goal, no one wants to have a long-term care event. And the fact that you're here this morning to listen to this is encouraging to me because not a lot of people want to face this reality. We know it's a reality. Statistics say it is, but most people don't want to face the reality. But if you are fortunate enough to dodge that bullet with the leveraged care solution, either the account balance or a life insurance benefit is passed to your beneficiaries. So it's not a use it or lose it proposition. So what are the trigger mechanisms of a leveraged care solution? Well, they're basically the same as Medicaid. Cognitive impairment is the first one. So you can't remember anybody's name. You wake up, you can't remember anybody's name. That's cognitive impairment. The second is not being able to do 2 of the 6 activities of daily living. So what are those? Eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, and maintaining continence. So these are things that you need assistance with, you need help with. Those are activities of daily living. My father-in-law, although he had dementia, he was actually pretty good for the last 9 months. He had suffered a stroke right after his wife's passing, and but he couldn't eat without assistance. He certainly couldn't dress himself without assistance, and then all the other things started to fall apart toward the end there. So that's a trigger mechanism. That is a trigger. You've triggered it. Okay. Now, what then is a leveraged care solution? Well, let me just set this out before we get into the specifics of what the options are. Leveraged care solutions were not created to make you rich. They are basically to reposition an asset that you're setting aside for your care. I've had people say to me, well, I can take this $100 and I can put it in the stock market and make $1 million off of it. Well, maybe you can, but you might also lose that $100 in the stock market. That's not the intent of this money. This is specifically going to be set aside for your care. But leveraged care solutions are not there to make you rich. They exist to prevent you from becoming poor. And also, because of the estate planning that I do constantly throughout the year and have done for 45 years, it's also to preserve your assets, to keep your money so that you have more to pass on to your children and your grandchildren and continue on with your financial legacy. So let's talk about the 3 different options that are available under the leveraged care umbrella. What I think is so cool about this is it's the second one, but really actually very different in concept. So we're gonna unveil and look at each of these options today. The first one is the long-term care annuity combo, and I'm actually going to give you examples of each one of these in our presentation today. So a long-term care annuity creates an immediate explosion if a long-term care event is triggered. For example, a male age 65 were to transfer $100,000 from his left pocket to his right pocket, it would immediately create a $330,000 pool of money to be used for your care. So that's the expansion of it. Automatic, guaranteed, no, not dependent on anything in the market or anything like that, guaranteed day one. Now, obviously, you're not going to use it day one. You're not going to put it in and use it the next day. But that benefit continues to grow because you're going to earn interest in that account. It's an annuity, remember? It's a single premium deferred annuity. You're transferring a single sum. It would create a long-term care benefit of $4,600 a month over a 6-year period of time, or 72 months. Deferred annuities they actually have, they're earning interest in the account, and so depending on your age when you get into this, the annuity can actually continue to compound and increase in value. And so as a result, your long-term care benefit is always 3 times what you put in and 3 times what the account balance is. So if it grows, it'll be 3 times that. It's a safe money investment, so you don't have to worry about the market. It is definitely not a lose it or use it proposition, and no medical exam is required to get this. So all you have to do is pass an interview, kind of be coherent in what you're saying, and not being, not have Alzheimer's already, or be in a nursing home. There are some medical qualifications to get it, but it's not as intense as a standalone long-term care policy is for certain. And the joint option is available. So if I'm married, it might be something that I would like to consider for me and my spouse. It's a reimbursement payout. So you actually have an expense, and you present the expense to the carrier, the insurance company, and they reimburse you for it. Or you set up a payment plan for if you're going to a nursing home, assisted living facility, or you have people coming into your home. And that's kind of the avant-garde way of taking care of you today. It's not really going to the nursing home. It's usually staying at home and having people come in and take care of you. So you actually have to have an expense. And furthermore, you can actually take a deferred annuity that you currently have, an existing annuity, and you can convert that annuity into this long-term care annuity. You can actually exchange it into that and get a tax-free long-term care benefit for you. So this is, we're going to talk about that here in a second, because this is called the 1035 exchange. So if any of you have an existing annuity right now with gain in it, and you're wondering, well, what am I going to do with this? This is a great place to park it, to transfer it into there, because right now, if you take the gain from your annuity and you used it for care, how is it taxed? Anybody tell me how it's taxed? If you have an existing annuity with gain, how is it taxed if you take it out? That's right, ordinary income. Just like, and it's ordinary income first. So if you take it out for care, you have to pay taxes on it. Because of the Section 844 of the code, you're able to transfer it into a long-term care annuity, and if you use that gain for care, it's tax-free. So it's the only way to take gain in an annuity and take it out tax-free. An example, 70-year-old female has $100,000 in an existing annuity. She transfers it into the long-term care annuity. It's a tax-free exchange, so there's no tax consequences to do the exchange. It's worth $300,000 in a pool of long-term care benefit, which represents $4,176 a month for 72 months. Okay, so if you have any question on that, let's defer the questions till the end because we're filming this. So, solution number 2, the life legacy long-term care combo. Now this one actually is the longest one of the new options that have been available. It's been out there for a little over about 12 years. And I actually really like this option. I mean, I like all three of them, but I like this one for me personally. And the reason is because I want to leave a larger financial legacy to my grandkids specifically. So I set this up for myself to actually benefit my grandchildren eventually. Because I'm never going to trigger the long-term care benefit. That's my goal, is not to do that. But should I trigger it, I'm going to have a benefit, and I'll explain here. So with the life legacy option, you can either do a single sum, just like the annuity, single sum transfer, or you can do annual deposits. So it doesn't require a big wad of money up front to get. So you don't have to take all of the money out of the coffee can and put it in. You can do it periodic deposits. It creates an immediate tax-free life insurance benefit. So whatever amount you transfer in, if it's a single sum or annual, you have an immediate life insurance benefit. That immediate life insurance benefit is the source or what creates the pool for the long-term care benefit, and it's extracted from that life insurance benefit. For example, let's just say I end up getting a $500,000 life insurance policy. That becomes my source now for my long-term care benefit. And at 2% a month being extracted from that, if I trigger it, if I can't do 2 of the 6 activities or I'm cognitively impaired, I trigger it, the insurance company then cuts me a check for $10,000 a month. Tax-free. Why is it tax-free? Because it's coming from the life insurance benefit. I become the beneficiary of my own life insurance policy. Isn't that cool? To me, it's just an ingenious option that we have. We didn't have this before, now we have this. A medical exam is required for this plan. So there is about a 6-week delay from the time you say, hey, let's do this, to the time that you actually get approved. It's about 6 weeks. Whereas the other one, the long-term care annuity, it's just a telephone call, pretty much instant approval. And the reason is because if you put down $100,000 and you now have a $500,000 long-term life insurance benefit, the insurance company is on the hook for that. Because of Section 7702 in the code, you're also able to accumulate a lot of money in the long-term care plan, in this life legacy plan, in cash value. So it actually can create a triple benefit for you. It can create the life insurance benefit immediately, the long-term care benefit, and a cash accumulation account. Because of Section 7702, the cash account can actually become a family bank for you. And many of you have read my book, the family bank strategy. This book is available on Amazon. It's also on our website, and we have some here at the booth that you can come and get. But the family bank strategy talks about how you can use life insurance to create a tax-free family bank for you. Tax-free now. I'm not talking about taxable. You got to get that out of your mind. It's not a taxable event. It's a tax-free event. Always a tax-free event if you set it up and you properly fund it correctly and you take the money out correctly. So it also pays out a cash indemnity benefit. So this is a little bit different because of the long-term care annuity. It's a reimbursement. You actually have to have expenses. Here, I can't do 2 of the 6 activities. I'm cognitively impaired. The insurance company cuts me a check for the $10,000, tax-free, sends it to me, and I can do whatever I please with it. I can use it to have my kids fly in and take care of me. I can use it to give away. I can do, but I can use it for my care. So this money can come. And what if I don't need it? What if I have Alzheimer's and I actually triggered the benefit, but I don't need it right now because I can take care of myself initially with Alzheimer's? You can do that. And so my dad actually was about 4 years before he really needed intense care. You don't have to take it. What if I don't take it? Well, it's extracted from the life insurance benefit. So if I only used it for 10 months, I used the $100,000 for 10 months and passed away, I would have used $10,000 a month for 10 months. That's $100,000 subtracted from the $500,000 benefit. My family would have received the net $400,000. It is not a use it or lose it proposition. If you never ever use it for long-term care, somebody is going to get the life insurance benefit. Okay, let me give you an example. 65-year-old female depositing in $100,000 creates an immediate long-term care pool, but also an immediate life insurance benefit of $321,000. That creates a $6,400 monthly long-term care benefit that is tax-free, paid out over 50 months. Because it's a family bank style plan, it's going to have a cash value in it. So not only am I going to deposit my $100,000, I'm going to take my $100,000 from my left pocket to my right pocket. It's still going to be an asset on my balance sheet, but it's going to earn interest as well. So in 10 years, it's going to be worth $122,000, and in 20 years, $175,000. Again, if you have any questions, come by the booth 309 or wait till after we're done here and I can answer some of the questions. All of the plans have really good liquidity that you'll be able to access the money, but this one here, exams are required. So that's kind of key to this because if you don't want to have an exam, this is one of the plans, the annuity, and this one you don't have to have an exam. And it also is a cash indemnity payout. Now, in my book, in the booklet, I explain in great detail what the difference is between the reimbursement and the cash indemnity payout. I'm not going to get into that today, but a cash indemnity payout basically is, I can't do 2 of the 6, I'm cognitively impaired. Send me money, they send you money. No receipts are required. A plan of attack is necessary, and a doctor's statement that you can't do 2 of the 6. So in this, he deposits the $100,000, and in that $100,000, it creates an immediate pool of, let's say, $400,000. So that's what my immediate long-term care pool is grown to. So remember, my $100,000, put it in, is now worth $400,000 if I can't do 2 of the 6 or I'm cognitively impaired. You get that? It's a transfer. It's an asset still on my balance sheet. It's 100% liquid in 5 years. So it's still there, and that creates a $5,000 long-term care benefit paid out over 72 months. In 20 years, though, because I have that inflation provision in there, my long-term care pool increases $200,000 to $600,000, creating an $8,000 long-term care benefit. Let's think this through. I'm 65 when I get this. When am I most likely going to need the long-term care? When I'm 85. Somewhere in that vicinity. I mean, hopefully I never use it. If I don't use it, what happens? Well, I have a a life insurance benefit that's going to be paid out to my beneficiaries. And we're going to examine that here in a second. So let's look at the different options here. This particular chart, by the way, it's also in the special report, and we can do an individual breakout like this for you by filling out the evaluation forms, getting it to us, letting us know what you want to do. We can give you the different options. But in this case, we have a 65-year-old male, and in each case, we're going to deposit $100,000. Well, you can see that there's a legacy benefit. That's the life insurance, or that's what's available should you pass away. And we have years 1, 6, and 20. We also have a total care pool over here. So this is what is going to be available for my care. And you can see that that total care pool varies by plans. So immediately with the long-term care annuity, because I have put in $100,000, the care pool is $300. It's $300 with the life plan, and it's $300 with the LTC life with the 3% inflation. But look at the pool increases through the years, whereas here the pool does not increase. It does increase with the annuity because the annuity value increases, but with the life legacy it doesn't. So and you have the duration, you have the different care payouts over here. All of them have basically a 90-day wait. You have to have 90 days before the benefit kicks in. But look at the cash liquidity here. All of them have you put in $100,000, within 6 years, all of them have 100% liquidity available to you. So if you want to bail, you bail. You've been covered for those 6 years, and you bail and you get your money back. I just don't see why everybody doesn't just flock to this, because it really makes sense. If you want to just self-fund, if I'm so affluent, I've got so much money, I want to self-fund, you still do this. Why? Because you're smart. You're leveraging your money. You're taking the 100 and creating 300 or 500 or whatever amount is based on your age. And what does that do? That leaves you responsible for this layout. And I think it's just a marvelous strategy here and show it. But let's go back to our example of the $2 million yielding assets. And so let's just take out $100,000 of that. Everything else remains intact. It's still an asset on my balance sheet. I'm just repositioning it. So I know you're saying to yourself, right? I hope anyway, you're saying, well, man, he gave me 3 options. I'm confused. Which one is best? In fact, everybody asks that question. Which one is best for me? It kind of depends. It depends on a lot of circumstances. How's your health? Do you mainly just want to focus on creating a long-term care benefit? Do you want long-term care coverage for both you and your spouse? Well, the long-term care annuity really is the only answer for that. If you want it together as a joint, where are the funds coming from that you want to reposition? How much do you have to transfer now? Well, I don't have $100,000. I don't have $200,000. Well, then you obviously have to do the depository plans. Is the money that you have that you're going to transfer in a qualified account, like an IRA or a 401k? Well, if it is, you have to address it. We have to address that as well. So, another question is, do I want to create a sizable guaranteed tax-free legacy for my kids? See, one of the reasons why we did the life legacy for my wife Jane is because our kids have enough money when we pass away. They're going to get plenty of money when we pass away. But our grandkids, we're concerned about them. So we took out the plan, named me as her beneficiary. Yay. I don't ever want this. I don't even want the care. But I'm the first line of beneficiary. But if I don't want the money when she passes away, I can pass it down to my grandkids. But guess who the contingent beneficiary is for her plan? My grandkids. Not my kids, my grandkids. So if you want to create a sizable legacy, then the life legacy option is the best. Do you want to accumulate cash? This is why you have to meet with us. It's not something you can just, it's not a do-it-yourself. I talked with a gentleman the other day. He has a stockbroker. The guy is awesome. He's making a lot of money for him. And he signed him up for one of these plans. Stockbroker didn't know diddly squat about what, and he signed him up for the one option that I actually didn't think that was appropriate for this guy. So, there are options available, and each of them do apply to each situation. So, do you want to accumulate cash value in your long-term care? If you do, then maybe a life legacy is the plan. Do you have an existing annuity that has a lot of gain? Well, then the long-term care annuity probably is the option because you get all that gain tax-free. Do you want a carrier that has a real high Comdex financial rating? How important is that to you? How long do you want your care to pay out? So there's a couple of key solution factors here, and we just kind of mentioned those. But the key factors really to determine which plan is best really is, the first one is your health. How is my health? How much do I want to put in? What's the source of funds? How long I want the benefit paid out? So all of those are key factors. Leveraged care solutions are obtainable when you are in good health. Honestly, I can tell you that our office gets maybe 5 calls a day from someone that's either in a nursing home or has Alzheimer's or is Parkinson's disease and say, we got to have this. Yeah, you do, but you can't. So get it while you're healthy. Don't wait on this, okay? And obviously the younger you are, the more benefits you're going to get. So I like Rick Durfee in his presentation that he gives every year, and he always asks this. He changes his presentation, but he always ends his presentation with, "So what? So what did you learn? So what are you thinking here? You came to this talk. Honestly, I did not cover this talk up by saying something really flowery. I wanted to be specific. I wanted people in the audience that were interested about not painting themselves into the corner like our parents have. I want you to have options. You want to have options for your family too. So what? Well, hopefully I motivated you to look into this. Fill out the evaluation form. We'll get you the golden ticket, then we'll get you the special report. And in that special report, there is a specific form that allows us to run a series of options. We can actually do that spreadsheet for you and show you the 3 options, but maybe you already have an idea of which option is the one that you want to do. The next question is that I like to ask is, why work with us? I mean, you could work with your stockbroker. He can do option 3. That's the option that they usually do. Last year, $1.4 billion was put into option 3 with one company. There's a new plan out right now that the benefit is 25% better than the $1.4 billion that was taken last year, and the payout is an indemnity payout versus a reimbursement payout. So if you just deal with somebody that that doesn't know what they're doing, then you're going to get what really what is out there. I mean, not what is out there, what they have available. But why work with us? Well, first of all, we have been endorsed and recommended by several key financial advisors. One of them that's here at the conference right now is Mark Skousen in Forecast and Strategies. And we've been recommended by Mark for over 30 years since he's had his newsletter. Actually, since 1985. So we're still recommending us. So there's got to be a reason why. We haven't really hurt any of his people, and we've only helped his people. Retirement Watch, Bob Carlson, also a great newsletter, has recommended us for 20 years. Retirement Millionaire, Dave Eifrig, Dr. Eifrig, Money and Markets, and I actually am a contributing editor to Weiss Services, and they recommend us in their publications. So we can help you no matter where you live. We are headquartered, yes, in Arizona. We can help you over the phone, through the internet, and typically that's the way it's done. But Why work with us? Because we know the market. We specifically know this market. It is part of estate planning. It is making sure that you do not diminish your estate by having it whittled away through this long-term care expense, potential long-term care expense that will happen. So in conclusion, and again, if you did not receive the evaluation form, Todd, a couple guys came in afterwards. Did any of you not receive this evaluation form? Okay, we have one still that hasn't. Two, if you'll fill out the evaluation form, we'll give you the golden ticket. Then come to our booth 309, and we'll give you a complimentary copy of my book, the Leveraged Care Solution. I'm going to keep this up here for a while because it actually has our phone number on there. So let me go back to that slide. If you would like to meet with me while we are here, I'm going to be here the rest of the day. Schedule a time with Todd. He has a scheduling book back there, and we can just meet for a few minutes, kind of go over your specific situation. And we're not going to solve the world's problems today in the 15 minutes that we have, but we can at least make an introduction, know each other, and from there we can make some conclusive decisions for you, help you get on the right course, and then we can continue our conversation through the ensuing months. Thank you so very much for being here and being a part of this presentation today. As I told you, it's going to be available on our website, epmez.com. It's also going to be on moneyshow.com, I think starting Wednesday or so. So it's about Wednesday, is that right? And so make sure you tune into that. If you want to watch it again, tell your friends to watch it. This is a crisis. Honestly, it is. When you have 80% of the female population needing long-term care, it's a crisis. And it's 72% of all of us, it's a crisis. So, and there's no reason for us to paint ourselves into a corner. Well, thank you very much.